Hi, I'm Abdul Faruqi, and I'm an attorney with 16 years of experience in litigation, including investigations into the pharmacy industry, pharmacy benefit managers, drug manufacturers. Um, did those things as an assistant attorney general. And now I'm in private practice, and I'm a little bit freer to talk about my opinions on things that are happening in the legal industry and adjacent industry. So I wanted to briefly talk about Eli Lilly's lawsuits against four telehealth companies over compounded versions of their popular weight loss and diabetes drugs, tirzepatide, also known as Mounjaro. Legally, my opinion is that legally Eli Lilly has a strong position here. The FDA allowed for compound pharmacies to create these drugs only during shortages. With those shortages now officially over, continued production violates FDA regulations. Eli Lilly argues these compounded drugs could be unsafe, leading to potential consumer harm. From what I can tell, if the pharmacy is licensed, and generally licensed pharmacies and companies like this typically will make compounded medications that are as safe as Eli Lilly would make. I mean, they make them in batches, which potentially could lead to harm, but at the same time, you don't have a situation where one manufacturing line gets shut down because of some major concern, such as a bad batch or something like that that requires a recall. So, on the one hand, production at one facility uh, could be safer, but it could also increase the harm astronomically. And I think distributed production is not any necessarily better or worse. So, I mean, it is an argument that people make in litigation about safety. That is the most compelling argument that you always make about keeping people safe. But really, I mean, in this case, it's really about profitability because this is like a bootleg version of a movie. Disney and a lot of these companies, when people are making copies of intellectual property, they had all kinds of reasons of why we needed to stop that. And similarly, this is just basically a copy of a patented formula that, if it's widely available, there's no reason why people are going to pay for the brand name drug. And it's too soon for there to be a generic available for this. So, from my experience, Eli Lilly is likely to succeed in stopping these companies from selling unauthorized compounded versions. And these legal victories are going to typically boost the stock prices in the short term as investors are going to favor reduced competition. Now, that reduced competition is good for investors. It's not necessarily good for the consumers because these types of drugs, from a public health perspective, have been doing a lot of good for people. And I'll admit, I haven't shared a lot with my personal life, but I have tried these compounded medications, and they are effective, just as effective as the brand name drugs that I've also tried. And I think limiting compounded versions could mean higher drug costs and reduced accessibility for patients who can't afford brand name prices that often exceed $1,000 a month. Um, some of these are even more than $1,500 a month, depending on which pharmacy you're buying it from. The Trump administration previously supported measures aimed at lowering drug costs, but regulatory enforcement like this tends to favor pharmaceutical giants over consumers. Additionally, with many drug ingredients produced abroad, especially in China and India, tariffs and global trade policies are going to complicate drug pricing even further. So, in addition to eliminating the compounded versions of these drugs, Eli Lilly, if they produce these things in China or India, they're going to, or even in Europe, they're going to potentially have to pass those costs to consumers. So the prices ultimately will be higher. And while they might win in court, the broader implication is clear. We urgently need policy reforms to balance corporate interests with consumer access. And just wanted to give you my quick hot take on this development.